He had already deciphered codes in manuscripts over 1,000 years old, but nothing had prepared him for what he found inside that envelope with no sender. Inside, a map, dated 1804, authentic, with the name of a city no one had ever heard, and, in the corner, a phrase written perfectly, in a language he had invented and, when he was 19, never shown to anyone, never published. How did it get there? Who else knows that language? And why is a 200-year-old map calling out, "To Dr. Elias Ward now?" Some truths were never lost. They were hidden. My name is Dr. Elias Ward, and for more than 2 decades I've been chasing clues that were never meant to be found. Symbols that don't belong, statues that seem to know too much, and words that appear when no one ever wrote them. Some call it madness and others coincidence. But if you've come this far, it means you're searching too, for what was forgotten, or worse, hidden. Here every episode is a clue, every symbol a story waiting to be told, and every discovery might not be mine alone. It could be yours too. The Cryptologist. Don't follow the obvious path. Follow the impossible. The package arrived with no return address, wrapped in craft paper, sealed with black wax, the kind Elias hadn't seen in years. No letter, no explanation, just the map. It was real. Linen paper, French watermark from the early 19th century, a military cartographer's stamp, signed with the initials JB. But the name of the city wasn't listed on any known version of that map. Between 2 villages in the Provence region, a blank forest. And there, drawn with dark ink, precise streets, perfect symmetry, Aramat. Elias cleaned his glasses and tried not to imagine things. The map was authentic, but the city, unknown. Or was it? He typed Aramat into every academic database. Nothing. He tried phonetic variations, old dialects, Latin translations. Silence. It was like the city had never existed. But he remembered. In his youth, he had invented the name Aramat as part of a fictional story, a personal experiment in artificial languages. He'd isolated himself for weeks to build the structure, grammar, symbols, even calligraphy. He had never shown it to anyone. The only copy of that language was still locked in a drawer in his house. And there, in the bottom corner of the map, was a phrase written perfectly in that same language. In his handwriting, Elias sat down. For a moment, he thought he was losing his mind. But the smell of the paper, the wear of the edges, the texture of the ink, all pointed to the same thing. The map was old, real, and somehow waiting for him. Southern France was colder than Elias remembered. Or maybe he was just older now. In his backpack, only the essentials: flashlight, printed map, notebook, field camera, a copy of the phrase written in his language, and 2 names circled, Saint-Maurice and Bellevay. Between those 2 villages, the map showed a city, but in the real world, there was only forest. He walked for hours. The path was shallow, almost erased. Maybe an old hunting trail. The trees were dense, the vegetation untouched. No signs, no poles, no human presence in at least 50 years. At one point he stopped, dropped his backpack and unfolded the map on a flat stone. He looked ahead. "It should be right here," he whispered without thinking. In the center of the map, the main tower of the city, marked with the same symbol Elias had once used to represent heart in his invented language. There, nothing. Forest, dry leaves, silence. But he felt something. Maybe just instinct. Or something older. He took a few more steps. and then he saw it. Half buried, covered in moss, there was a stone structure, small, just enough to look like a regular rock. But the surface was carved, not Roman letters, not medieval drawings. Elias knelt down. It can't be. The letters were worn but unmistakable. His language, right there, carved in stone. He ran his fingers over the marks, each curve pulling him back to his notebooks from youth. Syllables he had created while hiding from the world, but now it felt like they had hidden from him. Aramat exists. That phrase wasn't carved there, but it was all he could think of. Below the letters, near the base of the stone, he saw a circular symbol, partially buried. He cleared the dirt with his hands, slowly, and froze. The symbol was a fusion of two letters, E and W, spiraling into each other, his personal signature. A symbol he only used in private sketches, one he had never shared. This doesn't make sense. Elias stood up, breathing deeply, looked around. Everything still, but not silent. It felt like the forest was watching. He pulled out his camera, took 2 photos of the stone, and wrote in his notebook, "Location, between Saint-Maurice and Bellevay. Stone structure, confirmed inscription, personal symbol, unexplainable." He packed everything but didn't leave. He sat and stared into the unmoving vegetation. If this is fiction, who's writing with me? The next morning, Elias returned to the same spot. He had marked the trail with 3 knots tied on distinct branches. He knew the exact place where he left the stone, the vegetation, even the log where he had sat the day before. But when he arrived, there was nothing. The clearing looked the same. The sunlight came in at the same angle. The leaves were still yellow on the ground, but the stone was gone, not moved. Gone. The patch of loose soil he had dug into the day before was undisturbed, as if no one had ever touched it, as if he had never been there. Elias turned slowly, analyzing every inch of the surroundings. He took a breath, deeper than he wanted to. "I know what I saw, I touched it." He pulled the notebook from his backpack. The notes from the night before were still there, written in his own hand. Personal symbol, invented language. Aramat Marksan, fixed point. But something was strange. Between the last note and the one before it, there was a new page, with a slightly different texture. Older paper, thicker. He flipped it carefully. It was a written page and in his handwriting. The ink looked recent, but the paper didn't, and he had no memory of writing it, nor of adding it to the notebook. The phrase in the center of the page held just one line. "The Creator never creates. He only remembers what we forgot." And below, in the bottom corner, the same spiral symbol, EW, his mark, but distorted, as if drawn by a trembling mind or hurried hand. For a moment, Elias closed his eyes. The forest was still, too still. He slowly got up, put the notebook away, looked ahead down the trail, and recognized it, but something felt off. The angle of the stones, the slope of the ground, everything felt subtly altered, as if the place was rebuilding itself as he walked. With each step, the doubt grew. Did he find Aramat, or had Aramat found him? This isn't about cartography anymore. This was something bigger, as if the city hadn't been forgotten, but erased intentionally. And now, it was trying to return. Elias left the forest in the late afternoon, eyes wide open, and his mind even more so. He didn't speak to anyone in the village, didn't ask for explanations, and he definitely didn't mention the stone or the inscription or the new page glued inside his notebook. That night, in his modest room at the Saint Maurice, he opened the map again, laid it out across the bed, and stared at it for long minutes in silence. He traced with his fingers the path he had walked, the trail that vanished, the spot where the city should have been, or where it still is. Aramat remains in the shadows. He whispered the phrase softly, as if testing the sound. In the corner of the room, his suitcase was still open, and on top of it, one of the copies of the spiral symbol, his signature, that twisted version, or older one. This isn't possible, he thought. But then, how many of the things he had studied in life weren't supposed to be possible either? The next day, Elias returned to Paris. He spent a week in seclusion, comparing old maps, travel books, nautical charts. Nothing. He ran cross-searches across historical, cartographic, and linguistic archives, tried to find any record of the city of Aramat in dead languages, silenced, but then something, in a database from the University of Stockholm, while filtering Napoleonic-era documents with unusual cartographic symbols. One name popped up, isolated. Aramat, classification undetermined. Location, border of Iran and Turkmenistan. He froze. Impossible, the next step. Elias pushed back his chair, stared at the screen and whispered, "It moves." A few days later, while packing again, he found another envelope. No return address, same craft paper, same black wax. Inside, just one thing, another map. Smaller, hand-drawn, simpler, but at its center, in dark blue ink, the name Aramat. For the second time, he opened the notebook, turned to the last page. The phrase was still there. The Creator never creates. He only remembers what we forgot. But now, a new line had appeared beneath it, as if emerging from the texture of the page, itself, as if returning. And we're starting to remember. Maybe Aramat was never a city. Maybe it's an idea, a trace of what existed before someone decided to erase it. But ideas don't die. And when they start to come back, someone always tries to erase them again. If you've ever felt like parts of history were erased, or that you remember something that never existed, then maybe you're closer to Aramat than you think. Stick with me. The next clue is already on its way.